I was born into a family that valued being proper, although my perception of the term has shifted over time. My parents followed a strict code of respectability, where every action, word, and outfit had to align with their standards of decency. My sister, Emma, embodied their ideal. She always knew the right things to say, wore the correct attire, and dated the perfect boy from the right family. She was the epitome of the perfect daughter, helping organize church events, nodding along to every opinion of mom and dad, always presenting herself as the flawless child. As for me, I saw through the illusion from a young age. Our home felt like a stage, with my parents playing the leading roles in their carefully curated lives. In public, they were upstanding members of the community, Dad with his perfectly tied tie, and Mom in her meticulously chosen church clothes. They attended every event, made charitable donations, and ensured everyone noticed their goodness. But once the public left, the masks came off. Our living room transformed into what I secretly called the gossip chamber. Mom's friends would gather for coffee, and that's when the real drama unfolded. "Did you see what the Hendersons wore to church?" Mom would begin, stirring her coffee with disdain. Their daughter running around in those shorts, someone should teach them about modesty. Dad wasn't much different, chiming in with comments about people's jobs, cars, and homes, always with a thin veil of concern, but a sharp judgment underneath. Poor Bill Johnson, trying to impress with that new car. Everyone knows his business is on the brink. But the favorite target of their gossip was my Aunt Claire, Dad's sister. She was everything they weren't, and I admired her for it. She worked as an actress, was successful in theater, and lived life on her own terms. When Aunt Claire visited, it felt like a breath of fresh air had been let into our stifling home. She always brought thoughtful gifts that showed she cared. Mom and Dad accepted them with forced smiles and polite gratitude. But the moment Aunt Claire left, the criticisms began. "Can you believe she's still dating at her age?" Mom would sneer. "Living in sin. No husband, no kids. What kind of life is that for a woman?" "And these gifts," Dad would add, holding up whatever Aunt Claire had brought. "She's got all that theater money, yet she brings us cheap presents, probably spending it all on her stuff." They'd gripe about how she could afford better, but chose to spend on herself instead of on family. It was like they had a list of complaints ready for her departure. I was 7 when everything shifted. It was another ordinary afternoon at home. Mom was hosting another one of her gossip sessions, and I was off to the side, playing with my dolls, pretending not to listen. But I heard them talking about Aunt Claire again. "She's nothing but a loose woman," Mom whispered, her voice dripping with venom. Her friends nodded in agreement. I froze my doll in my hands. I'd heard them say plenty of cruel things about Aunt Claire before, but this felt different. I didn't understand why it upset me, but something didn't feel right. When Aunt Claire came over next, I waited until we were alone in the kitchen. She was helping me reach the cookie jar when I blurted out, "Aunt Claire, what's a loose woman?" "That's what Mom and her friends call you when you're not here." Aunt Claire froze. She carefully set the cookie jar down, her hands trembling. I could see the hurt, the surprise, and then the anger flash across her face. "Jessie, honey," she said, her voice soft but firm. "Stay here." She marched into the living room, and I followed quietly, peeking from the doorway. "I've had enough," Aunt Claire's voice cracked. "I've put up with your judgment, your gossip, but calling me names behind my back. How dare you?" Mom started to speak, but Aunt Claire cut her off. "Don't deny it. I've heard everything you say when I'm not around. You smile in my face, take my gifts, and then trash me the moment I leave. I'm done. Done with the hypocrisy. Done with the gossip." With that, she stormed out, slamming the door. I heard the photos on the wall rattle. Years passed. Emma married right after high school to Jason, a perfect match in my parents' eyes. A proper, respectable marriage. They started pushing me down the same path, even before my senior year. "We found the perfect boy for you," Mom announced one evening. "Richard Thompson. You remember the Thompsons, right? A very respectable family." "But I want to go to college," I protested, trying to stand my ground. "I've been researching programs." "College?" Dad scoffed. "What for? Richard's going to take over his father's business. He needs a supportive wife, not some career woman." They arranged for me to meet Richard, of course. He turned out to be exactly what I expected. Proper, boring, and entirely wrong for me. But I saw the look in my parents' eyes and knew they wouldn't let up. So I smiled and agreed to date him, all while secretly applying for college scholarships. Graduation day came, and it felt like a dream. I was at the top of my class, my scholarship was secured, though my parents didn't know that yet, and I was ready to start my life. We had a party at Richard's house afterward, and for once, everything seemed perfect, until it wasn't. I went upstairs to use the bathroom, but when I opened the wrong door, I found Richard in bed with my friend Kelly. My graduation cap fell from my head and hit the floor with a loud thud. They both looked up, panic in their eyes. "Jess," Richard stammered, scrambling to cover himself. "This isn't what it looks like." "Save it," I interrupted, surprising myself with how calm I sounded. "We're done." I walked out without another word, ignoring the calls and texts from Richard and Kelly. I knew the real storm would hit when my parents found out. The next morning, Mom shrieked, "What do you mean you broke up with Richard?" "Over one little mistake." Little mistake. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He was in bed with my friend. "Men have needs," Dad said, as though explaining something simple. "A good wife learns to overlook these things." "Are you seriously telling me to just accept that he cheated on me?" I asked. "The Thompsons are our closest friends," Mom hissed. "You'll bring shame to this family. You're airing our dirty laundry in public." That was the breaking point. Something in me snapped. "Shame?" I said, stepping back. "You want to talk about shame?" I chuckled softly. "All you care about is others' opinions. You sit here in your immaculate house, passing judgment, gossiping about everyone behind their backs. You're nothing but hypocrites." Mom stepped closer, her voice freezing. "You will apologize to Richard. You will marry him, or we will sever ties with you." I took a steadying breath. "Actually, I won't," I replied. "I got a full scholarship to State University. I'm leaving for college in August." The silence was overwhelming. Mom's face drained of color. Dad's mouth opened and closed like he couldn't find the words. "Leave," he shouted. "If you're going to throw away everything we've worked for, then get out of this house. You're no daughter of mine." I grabbed my already packed bag and walked out. Behind me, I could hear Mom crying and Dad throwing things around. My hands trembled as I dialed Aunt Cla's number. Even though we hadn't spoken in years, her number had remained saved all this time. She picked up on the third ring. "Hello, Aunt Cla, it's Jessica." There was a pause before her voice softened. "Jessie, darling, what's wrong?" I told her everything: Richard's betrayal, my parents' reaction, the scholarship, and being thrown out. The words spilled out between sobs. I hadn't realized I'd been holding them in. "Where are you?" she asked. "Outside my parents' house." "Stay right there. I'll come get you." True to her word, an hour later, her red convertible pulled up. She jumped out and embraced me tightly, not caring about the tears soaking her blouse. Aunt Cla's home in the next town was lively and warm, just like her. The walls were adorned with posters from past theater productions, and cozy furniture made me feel at home. It was everything my sterile family home wasn't. "Make yourself comfortable," she said, leading me to the guest room. "This space is yours now, for as long as you need it." That evening, over mugs of hot chocolate piled high with marshmallows, I poured out everything. She listened quietly, occasionally nodding, then said, "You remind me of myself at your age, standing up to them, carving your own path. I'm proud of you, Jessie." "Really? You don't think I'm being selfish?" "Selfish? Darling, living by someone else's script is not selflessness. It's being a puppet. You need to write your own story." The weeks leading up to college were some of the best I'd ever had. Aunt Cla showed me how to set up my laptop and find freelance writing opportunities online. "Everyone needs content these days," she said. "Might as well make some money while you wait for school to start." Between writing articles and enjoying old musicals, I finally felt like I could be myself. When August arrived, Aunt Cla drove me to college herself. She helped me carry my things to my dorm, arranged my desk perfectly, and made my bed with new sheets she bought me. "Remember," she said as she left, "this is your adventure. Make it count." I threw myself into my business management courses with enthusiasm. We kept in touch almost daily, and she always asked about my classes, roommates, and how I was doing, everything. As for Emma, silence, though Aunt Cla sometimes mentioned things she'd heard through the grapevine. "Your sister had another baby," she said one day, "her third. They named him Jason Jr." I shook my head and changed the topic to my upcoming midterms. Emma had made her choice, and I had made mine. Sometimes I wondered if she was really happy living the life of the perfect daughter, wife, and mother, or if she secretly wished for more. After graduation, it felt right to take the management position in Aunt Cla's city. We'd grown so close that living anywhere else seemed unthinkable. The company was thriving, and I spent most weekends with Aunt Cla. We had Sunday brunches, and she would share stories about her latest theater projects. She was now directing community plays, passing on her passion to a new generation. We'd also binge-watch classic films or try out new recipes from cooking shows, filling the house with laughter. Then came the news, stage 4. She told me one Sunday morning, her hands cradling her coffee mug. They say I have a few months, maybe less. I moved in with her that day. Between work and caring for her, the days blurred. We made every moment count. She insisted on teaching me her secret recipes and told me stories about her youth, encouraging me to live fearlessly. She passed quietly on a Tuesday morning, holding my hand. The theater community turned out in force for her funeral. Actors, directors, students from her workshops. The church was packed with people whose lives she had touched. But the 3 empty seats in the front row spoke volumes. My parents and sister hadn't come, even after I sent them the details. A week after the funeral, the notary called me into his office. "Your aunt was very clear about her wishes," he said, sliding documents across his desk. "The house, her land back in your hometown, and her savings, approximately $700,000. I'll go to you." I sat there, overwhelmed, tears streaming down my face. It felt like too much. I just wanted my aunt back. That weekend, I started going through her things. In her home office, tucked away in a drawer, I found a stack of letters, all addressed to my father. None had been sent. I opened the most recent one. "Dear John, I know we haven't spoken in years. The doctors say I don't have much time left, and I've been thinking about family, about reconciliation. Remember when we were kids and you used to protect me from the neighborhood bullies? I miss my big brother. I know we've chosen different paths and lived different lives. Maybe we've both been too stubborn, but life is too short for pride, isn't it? I hope one day you can understand that I loved you all, even when we disagreed, even when it hurt. Your sister, Claire." The letter was dated just 2 weeks before she passed. She never sent it. Never got to make that final attempt at peace. I carefully folded the letters and put them back in the drawer. Dad hadn't even said goodbye to his own sister. He'd chosen his pride over family one last time. Life moves on, whether you're prepared or not. 2 years after Aunt Cla's death, I was still living in her house, now mine, and fully immersed in my work. The promotion to senior manager came with a corner office and a salary that would have shocked my younger self. Then, one day, my phone rang. Mom's number appeared on the screen. My hand hovered over the decline button, but something urged me to answer. "Jessica," Mom's voice was softer than I remembered. We need to see you. Can you come?" I drove back to my childhood home that weekend. The sight of it stopped me in my tracks. The house was falling apart, paint peeling, gutters sagging. Inside was worse. The furniture was old, the carpets worn thin, and there sat my family, Mom, looking exhausted, Dad with a defeated expression, and Emma curled up on a couch with 3 kids clinging to her. Her eye was bruised, poorly concealed beneath makeup. Jason turned violent, Emma whispered, avoiding my gaze. I had no other place to turn, and the irony hit me hard. Jason, the son of their supposedly perfect friends, the ones they'd handpicked for Emma, had finally shown his true nature. "We were wrong," my mom, Jessica, admitted, tears in her eyes. "We were wrong about everything. Forcing you into that marriage with Richard, pushing you about college, about you." Dad nodded, clearly hurt by the realization. "We shouldn't have forced those marriages on you. Look where our pride got us. I can barely pay the bills." They explained how Dad's business crumbled, how their so-called friends turned away when things got tough. They couldn't even afford a simple roof repair. Without hesitation, I wrote them a $10,000 check for repairs. No conditions attached. From then on, I visited often, always bringing something, groceries, clothes for the kids, even appliances when theirs broke down. My parents seemed genuinely appreciative. But one night, as I stared at Aunt Cla's picture on my mantle, something clicked. The land she'd left me back home had been sitting unused for years. I called an architect the next day. "I need a house," I said firmly. "One big enough for a multi-generational family. At least 4 bedrooms with room for kids and a proper kitchen." She drew up the perfect design. A modern home with everything we needed. I hired a construction crew and had them swear to secrecy. Every time I visited my parents, I saw their house deteriorate while I smiled to myself knowing what was being built across town. But as the house neared completion, I began to notice something troubling. What began as gratitude for my parents turned into expectation, then entitlement. It started small, remarks like, "We were hoping for a different brand," or "We really needed something else." Then came the direct asks. Mom would call with shopping lists, no longer making them sound like suggestions. "We need a new washing machine. There's one on sale at Sears. Can you pick it up this weekend?" Dad chimed in too. "Your sister's kids need new clothes. Not the cheap stuff, the good stuff." The requests escalated. Bigger items, more frequent, more demanding. A new TV, outdoor furniture, a kitchen remodel. And then came the call about their 35th anniversary. They were planning a grand event at Lum Zone, the most expensive restaurant in town, inviting all their old friends, the same ones who'd abandoned them when things went south but were now reappearing. I thought it would be the ideal moment to reveal the new house. It was done, furnished and decorated. But a week before the party, Mom called. "Jessica," she said bluntly, "for our anniversary, we need a new car. It's $6,000. Excuse me? I nearly dropped my coffee. We can't keep driving that old Toyota. What will people think? You're doing well now. Surely you can afford it." "Mom, I've already planned a gift." "What could be more important than this?" Her voice turned cold. "We sacrificed everything for you. The least you can do is get us a decent car." Lum Zone was exactly the kind of place my parents loved. All about showing off, with crystal chandeliers and pristine white tablecloths. I walked in with the house documents in a silver envelope, heart pounding in anticipation despite the tension from Mom's call. The party was already underway. Mom wore a new dress, no doubt bought with my money, while Dad beamed at their guests. Emma sat quietly with her kids, and the group of former friends had gathered. Mom spotted me first, and instead of her usual fake smile, her face hardened. She whispered something to Dad, who gave me the same dismissive look. Well, Mom's voice cut through the air, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Look who decided to show up." I froze, every eye in the room on me. "Mom." "Don't mom me," she snapped, rising to her feet. "How dare you show up after refusing to help your own parents? After we sacrificed everything for you?" Dad joined in. "We only asked for one thing, to make your mother happy on our anniversary. But you're too selfish, aren't you? Too busy with your money to care about your family." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The room felt like it was spinning. "Is this how you raised her?" one of their friends said, clearly enjoying the drama. "To treat her parents like this?" "She's no daughter of mine," Mom declared, her voice loud and unforgiving. "A real daughter would have bought her parents the car they needed. Instead, she shows up empty-handed to ruin our celebration." Empty-handed? I found my voice, my hands shaking as I pulled up the envelope. "You want to know why I didn't buy you that car?" "We don't want your excuses," Mom snapped. "Just leave. You're embarrassing us in front of our friends." I looked around at their smug friends, at Emma who couldn't even look me in the eye, at my parents who cared more about their image than anything else. In that moment, I saw Aunt Claus standing in the same room years ago, facing the same judgment, the same cruelty. "I spent the last year building you a house," I said, my voice calm. "A beautiful 5-bedroom home on Aunt Claus land, big enough for all of you, Dad, Emma, the kids. I was going to surprise you today." Their faces drained of color. Mom's mouth opened and closed. "But now I see Aunt Claus was right about you both. You haven't changed. You're still the same selfish, shallow hypocrites." I held up the envelope and slowly tore it in half. The sound of the paper ripping echoed through the room. "The house is mine now. And so is my life. I'm done buying your love." "Jessica." "Wait." Dad started to speak. "No," I cut him off. "I watched you drive Aunt Claus away with your cruelty. I watched you force me and Emma into loveless marriages for appearances. And now, I'm watching you humiliate me in front of everyone because I didn't buy you a car. I'm done." I dropped the torn envelope on the table. "Happy anniversary. I hope your reputation keeps you warm at night." With my head held high, I walked out, ignoring their calls behind me. My phone buzzed before I even reached my car, with a flurry of texts, Mom, Dad, Emma, even their friends, all scrambling to realize what they had lost. I blocked them all. I never saw my parents again. I heard through the grapevine how they lost their house, how Emma struggled with the kids on her own, and how their friends disappeared when the money ran out. But none of that mattered to me anymore. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Stay stunned.